Before human civilization ever existed, the planet was alive with sound, the low calls of elephants traveling across ancient savannas, the rhythmic wing beats of billions of migratory birds decorating the sky, the steady hum of forests breathing, rivers expanding, oceans churning with life. But in the 21st century, a strange silence is beginning to spread. Not all at once, not evenly, but piece by piece, ecosystem by ecosystem. This silence is not poetic, it is a warning. Because we are now living through the fastest collapse of biodiversity in human history, a crisis so profound that scientists call it the sixth mass extinction, the only one driven not by asteroids or volcanic eruptions, but by us. And while the world debates climate change, biodiversity loss quietly marches forward, erasing species, weakening ecosystems, and destabilizing the planet we depend on for survival. The question haunting scientists, policymakers, and communities alike is simple but terrifying. Can we reverse biodiversity loss, or are we too late? To answer that, we must first understand what we're losing, why we're losing it, and what options remain as the echoes of extinction grow louder every year. Chapter 1. When a species disappears, the world shifts. Most people hear the word extinction and imagine the loss of a single animal. A missing bird, a vanished frog, a tiger that once prowled the jungle but no longer exists. But extinction is never isolated. A species is not just an organism, it is a thread in a massive, interconnected web. When that thread snaps, the entire system strains. If a bee disappears, a flower goes with it. If the flower dies, the insects that feed on it vanish. If the insects disappear, the birds starve. When the birds decline, forests become weaker. Extinction rarely happens cleanly. It happens like dominoes falling in slow motion, each collapse pushing another closer to the edge. Ecosystems are built over millions of years, but they can unravel in a fraction of that time. Today, plant and animal species are vanishing at 1,000 times the natural background rate. Entire ecosystems, coral reefs, rainforests, wetlands, are shrinking, breaking apart, or collapsing under the weight of human expansion. And once an ecosystem reaches its tipping point, recovery becomes almost impossible. Biodiversity is not a luxury, it's the infrastructure of life itself. Without it, the world stops working. Chapter 2. The 5 Horsemen of Biodiversity Loss. Though extinction feels like an abstract global tragedy, its causes are shockingly concrete. 5 direct pressures drive almost all biodiversity loss on Earth, and every one of them is linked to human activity. The first is habitat destruction, the most powerful force of all. Forests cleared for agriculture, cities expanding into wetlands, roads slicing through wilderness. Each development choice fragments the natural world into smaller and smaller islands of life. Species that once roamed freely become trapped in shrinking ecosystems that can no longer support them. The second is overexploitation. We take too much and too quickly. Overfishing oceans, overhunting wildlife, overharvesting plants. 80% of global fish stocks are fully exploited or collapsing. Large mammals are hunted faster than they can reproduce. Even the wildlife trade, legal and illegal, drains species at a rate ecosystems cannot replace. The third threat is pollution. Plastics choke rivers and oceans. Chemicals seep into soil and groundwater. Air pollution weakens forests and damages lungs of both humans and animals. Microplastics have infiltrated every habitat on Earth, even the deepest ocean trenches. The fourth is invasive species, organisms transported, intentionally or accidentally, by humans to ecosystems that never evolved to defend against them. Invasive plants crowd out native forests. Invasive insects destroy crops and trees. Invasive predators wipe out local bird and reptile populations. And finally, the fifth pressure is climate change, the great amplifier. As temperatures rise, habitats shift. Species that once thrived in cool, stable environments find themselves overheating, displaced, or stranded. Coral reefs bleach, polar ecosystems melt, weather patterns become unstable, pushing species beyond the edge of adaptation. Individually, each pressure is destructive. Combined, they are catastrophic. Chapter 3. The Human Cost of a Dying Planet. Biodiversity loss is often framed as an environmental tragedy, but its consequences reach far beyond forests and oceans. When ecosystems weaken, human life becomes harder, more fragile, and more expensive. Agriculture becomes unreliable as pollinators disappear and soil health declines. Pandemics become more likely as animals stressed by habitat loss move closer to human populations. Food supplies shrink as fisheries collapse and animal populations decline. Weather disasters intensify as weakened ecosystems lose their ability to absorb carbon, regulate rainfall, and prevent erosion. Communities that rely on nature, indigenous peoples, coastal villages, subsistence farmers, are pushed toward displacement, poverty, or cultural collapse. Biodiversity isn't just about beauty or conservation, it's about survival. Scientists estimate that more than half of global GDP depends on functioning ecosystems. Rainforests anchor weather systems. Wetlands filter water. Coral reefs protect shorelines. Healthy soils feed billions. Every species lost is like removing a brick from a tower. Remove enough bricks and the entire structure collapses. Chapter 4. Are we already too late? This question divides the scientific community. Some believe the damage is irreversible, that Earth has already crossed too many tipping points. Others believe that humanity still has a narrow window to act, but the timeline is closing rapidly. The truth lies somewhere in between. For many species, it is too late. Extinction is forever. Once lost, a species cannot be resurrected into its original ecological role, no matter what genetic engineering promises. The dodo and the passenger pigeon cannot be brought back into functioning ecosystems that no longer exist. But for ecosystems that remain, for forests not yet burned, reefs not yet bleached beyond recognition, grasslands not yet paved, recovery is still possible. Nature is resilient. Forests regrow. Animal populations rebound. Rivers cleanse themselves. Ecosystems heal when given time, protection, and space. The challenge is scale. Can humanity coordinate action fast enough, widespread enough, and deep enough to halt a crisis happening across every continent simultaneously? Reversing biodiversity loss is not a single action. It is a transformation of how we live. Chapter 5. Strategies for reversing the collapse. If reversing biodiversity loss were simple, it would already be done. But some strategies have proven effective when embraced at scale, and each one represents a different kind of hope. The first strategy is protecting remaining wild spaces. Expanding nature reserves, marine sanctuaries, and protected forests gives ecosystems room to breathe. Scientists argue that if humanity protects just 30% of land and ocean areas, biodiversity could stabilize, a goal known as 30x30. Many nations have signed on to this vision, though implementation remains uneven. The second strategy is rewilding, restoring ecosystems to their natural state by reintroducing key species. Examples like the return of wolves to Yellowstone, which revitalized the entire ecosystem, show that apex predators and keystone species can trigger extraordinary rebounds in biodiversity. The third strategy is sustainable agriculture. Industrial farming is one of the biggest biodiversity destroyers, but regenerative practices, crop rotation, soil restoration, reduced pesticides, agroforestry, can transform farmland into living landscapes that support both food production and wildlife. The fourth strategy is changing human consumption, reducing overfishing, regulating wildlife trade, eliminating unnecessary plastics, and adopting more plant-based diets all alleviate pressure on ecosystems. Individual actions matter, but policy changes matter more. The fifth strategy is indigenous leadership. Indigenous communities, representing only 5% of the global population, protect more than 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity. Their land stewardship methods are centuries old, effective, and sustainable, offering powerful models for conservation. The final and most controversial strategy is technological intervention. Artificial intelligence monitors poaching. Biotechnology restores damaged corals. Satellite networks track deforestation in real time. Even gene editing is being explored to save species on the brink. Whether these innovations become tools of restoration or instruments of unintended harm remains one of the biggest ethical dilemmas of our time. Reversing biodiversity loss will require a combination of these strategies and a level of global cooperation humanity has rarely achieved. Chapter 6. Success Stories, Proof that Nature Can Recover. Despite the grim statistics, the planet offers glimmers of hope. The humpback whale population, once devastated by commercial whaling, has rebounded dramatically thanks to global agreements. The Arabian Oryx, once extinct in the wild, now thrives again through reintroduction efforts. Protected zones in Costa Rica transform barren landscapes into lush forests, attracting jaguars, monkeys, and birds back into their habitats. In Africa, innovative conservation models involving community-led wildlife management are restoring elephant and rhino populations. In Europe, rewilding projects are bringing back lynx, bison, and wolves. Even coral reefs under extreme pressure from warming oceans have shown localized recovery using advanced restoration methods and stress-resistant coral strains. These stories prove one thing: nature responds when we choose to protect it. Recovery is possible, but it requires intention, investment, and time. Chapter 7: The Economic Battle: Profit versus Planet. One of the greatest obstacles to reversing biodiversity loss is economic pressure. Governments and corporations often see nature as a resource to be exploited, rather than a system to be preserved. Forests are valued more for their timber than their ecological function. Oceans are treated as unlimited food sources. Wetlands are viewed as wasted space. But economists are now uncovering a stark reality. The cost of destroying biodiversity far outweighs the profit gained from exploiting it. Ecosystem collapse leads to billions in agricultural losses, increased natural disaster damage, declining fisheries, rising healthcare costs, greater economic inequality, mass displacement. A healthy planet isn't an environmental luxury, it's the backbone of the global economy. When ecosystems die, economies die with them. This is why major financial institutions are now warning that biodiversity loss is one of the greatest long-term threats to global stability, as dangerous as climate change, economic collapse, or geopolitical conflict. The echoes of extinction are a warning, not a sentence. The echoes of extinction ripple across forests, oceans, savannas, and skies. They remind us of what's gone, but also of what can still be saved. Humanity is the first species capable of engineering the downfall of an entire planet. But we may also be the first species capable of consciously repairing it. The choice between collapse and restoration is still open. The clock is ticking, but the story is not finished. The echoes are getting louder. The question is whether we will listen and whether we will act in time.